Thank you. Okay, we have a district mission statement. Sharon, would you read that?
Sure. The mission of the Exeter West Greenwich Regional School District is to empower students to contribute to school and community by providing substantial learning experiences in a safe, trusting, and motivating environment.
Thank you. Okay, we have open forum. If there's anyone who would like to speak on something that is not on the agenda. It's good. Okay, thank you. And now we have the Wahleloo presentation. Mrs. Marino.
Good evening. Welcome to the Wahleloo School Committee presentation. Before I start the school committee presentation, I wanted to share a donation that was made to Wahleloo recently by a parent, and it came from the Spira family. And they wrote a beautiful letter acknowledging the teachers and staff at Wahleloo, and mentioned that we've watched our children thrive, we've challenged them to work hard, be responsible, to wonder about their world, to try new things, to be kind and generous of spirit. And they left us with the best picture books of 2014. So there are 23 beautiful books that are the top picture books from 2014, and we put a plaque inside of the books with their name in it, and I just wanted to share that with you, that it was really appreciated. While the focus of tonight is on technology, we cannot ever forget the most important element of learning, students, and I would like to acknowledge the students who came tonight, who are part of a video presentation that we put together. And first I'd like to ask Natalie Stedman, could you stand for the school committee? And Skylar Raymond. And Duncan Kling. And Catherine Larman. And you'll be seeing them in the video production tonight, and after we're done, they're available for questions and answers if you have any. I also would like to thank the families who brought the children here, and Mrs. Corcoran for working together. These students are all in her class this year, and she was a great team player with getting together with me and working with the students and not prompting them in any way. What you hear them say is authentic to how they feel about technology at Wahleloo, and I think you're really going to enjoy the presentation. Before we start though, I just wanted to share a paragraph that was recently in Principal Magazine. It says, "A dramatic shift is sweeping through our schools. The signs are all around us. Students are texting on cell phones. Kindergartners can navigate an iPod Touch better than we can. Middle schoolers already have an internet following on their blog or YouTube channel. These are not the same 21st century learners we came to know over the first decade of the new millennium. For these students, simply watching videos or images during class, playing an internet multiplication game, or even taking turns at an interactive whiteboard is no longer enough. These new learners are highly relational and demand quick access to knowledge. More than that, they are capable of engaging and learning at a whole new level. With the world literally at our fingertips, today's students need teachers and administrators to re-envision the role of technology in the classroom. Tonight we will share the exciting work that we have done this year, and I can assure you that it's just the beginning.
Pretty exciting to think about the impact that the additional technology resources have had on instruction at Waterloo School this year. I would probably describe it as a collateral shift in our opportunities for students, the way that we can just instantly get any information that we need. It's really exciting to be a part of this. I think about the smart boards, and math books, and the weekly blogs that are happening, and the educational Twitter chats that I've been able to participate in, movement breaks at the fingertips of the teachers in the classroom, curriculum supported with online opportunities. It's just, it's really unlike anything that I've seen as far as having this great impact on learning in the classroom. We're just really, really fortunate to have had the opportunity to gain these resources, and I'm really excited about the future because it's rapid fire fashion that we are using and taking advantage of these tools every day. One need that we had was for our math coach, Jane Filter, to share practice teaching for solving math problems in the classroom. And what we really wanted was for everybody to have the opportunity to observe this, and we were able to videotape her conducting the lesson while some of the teachers were able to observe it. But even for those who weren't, we had this video captured, and we were able to use that as a teaching tool for professional development, even incorporated into this video, sharing how we use technology this year. That was really an awesome opportunity for everybody.
Mathematicians you are all the time. So I'm really glad to come in and see. And we're going to be talking today about a problem you did before vacation. Do you remember this problem? After we had a couple of snow days, you had to tell during her snow day, Gabby made 42 cookies. She gave some of the cookies to her classmates. Now she only has 27 cookies left. How many cookies did she give to her classmates? Raise your hand if you remember solving that problem.
Using the blog has been an extraordinary experience for parent communication and outreach. I can't tell you the number of parents who submit feedback just saying how much they appreciate having little glimpses of life inside Waterloo School, and we've been able to provide them with photos, little video snippets, and just ideas for events happening in the community. And overall, I think that that has been one of the biggest assistance in letting families know exactly what is going on at Waterloo School. I definitely would be remiss if I didn't give the opportunity to our resident experts, students, to share the amazing experiences they had with our additional technology this year. And I'm sure that we will enjoy hearing from them.
We like our smart board because we get to do fun things on it, and it's supposed to be work, but it doesn't even feel like it's work because we do golden rule, mathematics, math games, and many more stuff, and it doesn't even feel like work because it's actually games that adds math, reading, or just funness into it. because our teacher assigns us something to do, and you can compete with other kids. I like our computer because we do our tests on it, and we do Pearson, iReady, Excel, like some games on it, and I just think that's really fun. It doesn't feel like we're learning. I feel like we're having fun. I'm going to talk about GoEagle, which is a website on an e-board that we can use that gives us a nice break from learning, have some fun and get some exercise. We did computers at the other school, and when we did it at the computers, it kind of is concept of just doing like it on paper. Ethics systems benefit all children, not just those with parents. For example, help children who have sexually impairments due to allergies or frequent irritation or less head. They help kids who have auditory processing difficulties, delays, attention deficits, language delays, and even English language learning. Children listen differently and need a quieter environment with a louder auditory signal until it can learn. Ethics systems make it easier to hear what you're talking over any background, such as the heater blowing, or ventilation system, or even chairs just moving around on the floor. They allow the teacher's voice to be heard at a constant level that is consistent. Benefits of an ethics system include increased student attention and decreased physical problems, less speech distraction, increased participation, productivity, and capacity. Teachers benefit by not suffering from vocal strain and fatigue. How well children hear their teachers affects how well they learn. Students achieve at higher levels when they can hear clearly and don't have to guess or strain to hear what the teacher is saying. Numerous scientific studies have proven that amplifying a teacher's voice improves student comprehension and performance. In the following video clip, the first few seconds are the teacher without the echo system on. And then you will see the teacher reach to turn on the echo system. Wow, what a difference. There are. Oh, perhaps 3 times the size of your head. Well, I looked at him and he looked at me. He put his big nose up in the air and sniffed as if. The academic system helps me with my ear because it's small, because of the boarding system. And the academic system, the teacher wears a necklace that has a speaker that goes to the academic system with real wires. And that goes to my ear and ears, and it goes to everyone else's ears. I think my friends will have a better time learning with that kind of system.
increase in technology in our district. I go back to just 2 years ago where anything that I was doing had to be written down in a calendar date book, and the shift we have now where everybody's walking around with a MacBook and entering dates into the phone, and you don't even need to walk around with that calendar anymore, which is making such a huge difference organizationally. And not just for me, I know that there are a lot of other people who are thrilled to be able to have these tools from the organizational standpoint.
In the health office, we have embraced the use of technology, and the first step has been to start daily visits of students that come to the health office. Previously, what we have done is we have written into each student a page on who came, when they came, and if you needed to see on that student, we would pull out a page. And every student that came in, we would have a list of students for the day. So it was a lot of writing, and really no easy way to pull out that information in order to utilize that to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the health offices. Now, with the health component of the Aspen program, what we have done is when the student comes in, they're all there on the database, so I just enter the name, and with the support of IT, their picture also comes up. So I would get a page, a health daily log page for each individual student, along with the page of the student's picture. And so there's the student in front of me, and that's what I am entering data on. The beauty of this is we're able to pull out all kinds of information. I know who sent the student, what time they sent the student, how long they've been in the health office, what I did for that student, and when they went back to class. I can document on the computer communications with parents, communications with staff. So it's a very powerful tool that we're using now in order to really increase efficiency and more comprehensive approach to our health office. We are able to collect this data at our fingertips. Some examples are, as I said, the visits and why they're coming, staff visits, medications that are administered, and this is what we focused on this first year. This last year, we focused on the daily visits. This year, we are focusing on, we put medications in. So as a student comes in, if it's for a scheduled medication, we have a schedule of students that will come in with appointments for their medication. So it's a click to make sure they come, they've gotten their medication. So we are embracing the use of technology for the health records. Julie has been very helpful in IT when the children come in for the daily logs. When they come in for their visits, she's actually hooked up their school pictures so that as a child comes in, they see themselves on my screen, which they love because they know that, yes, I'm on the computer. They know that the visit, the typing is all about them, their issue, why they have come, and what we are doing for them. One child asked me yesterday, do I send this right to his parents? Because he felt that, this is what was happening. We were collecting this data and just sending an email right to the parent. So they're very used to all of this technology. Again, immunizations are being put on, and then I'm able to know when they came, what they had. It's a very powerful tool, and one that I can see that we've needed for a long time. So it's pretty exciting to be able to use this in the health office. It's been a very powerful program. We've seen many benefits immediately, and we continue to grow and work with IT and with each other, the other nurses, to find out, now that we're using it, what could we really use to actually increase the effectiveness of it. So it's been very welcome. It's been something that we've needed for a long time. I enjoy being able to, if I have a parent call or I'm concerned about a trend, this child seems to come a lot, I'm able to pull that information out. What times does this child come? When do they come? Is it during specials? So there's a lot of analysis of data that I can do, and I think it's really for the betterment of the students. Again, our focus is they should be healthy in class and learning, and I feel that this tool really helps us to meet that goal.
The Wallowing course performs at least twice a year, a fall concert and a spring concert, and in addition to some community events. And our spring concert usually conflicts with or is the same weekend as the school committee weekend. So
of PBIS here in Wildwood, we had the opportunity to introduce the Second Step social skills program to every kindergartner that comes through the doors. It's a fabulous opportunity to help them become learners.
Because I have not made this formal announcement to the school committee, but many of the people that are in the room right now know that Mrs. Marino was recently named a finalist for the 2015 Elementary Principal of the Year. She's one of two, and we were hoping that we would get word today, but whatever the end result is, it is obvious that she leads this school and is doing great things for the kids. So I don't care what the result is. I know what I want the result to be, but whatever it is, you are truly an asset to this district and deserve the recognition that has been bestowed upon you. So congratulations.
to the educators in this building as well. They are fantastic. I could not ask for better faculty and staff at Wallingford. They're absolutely fantastic. And of course, students, thank you again. Do you have any questions for my friends? No? Do you have any questions for the school committee? No? You have one? Yeah. Do you want to ask them? No? Okay. Their question was going to be, what was your favorite part? I'll say it for them. So think about what your favorite part might have been.
The Wallingford song.
The song.
Yeah.
Do you have
Do you have any other jobs except the school committee?
Would you like to stay on the line? Yes, we do.
Nods of yes. Nods of yes across the board.
None that are more important than the school.
You do. Catherine has a question.
From the government.
They run the school district. School district. Thank you so much.
Okay, next we have the consent agenda.
Thank you. Okay, the consent agenda, you'll notice that there is a supplemental packet with some additional items that came in after the packet was sent out to the committee. But it includes the approval of our April 28th minutes, both regular and executive session. There is a leave of absence. Actually, there are 2 leaves of absence, one on the original agenda detail and one on the supplemental. Both of these teachers, one is a Walloon kindergarten teacher, and then we have a high school English teacher, are requesting the year off for various reasons, but it is a contractual provision, so it's a year off without pay. We also have 2 resignations. One of them is an athletic resignation. One of them is a teacher who's been out on an unpaid leave of absence for this past school year. She has declined the offer to return, and therefore contractually we remove her from the seniority list, so that notification has come into us. And then there is a job share proposal. This is a job share that we've approved for several years now. It's been every year since I've been here. I don't know at this point who she will share the position with, because we haven't worked out all the specific details of the rest of the phys ed assignments, but there is a teacher who has traditionally been the job share partner, and he probably will continue. The question is, what will the rest of his assignment be? That I just don't know yet. So until we work out those details, we'll say that the job share can be approved, but the partner will be determined at a later time once we have additional details. And then finally, we have the monthly bills that are part of this consent agenda. The other resignation is just actually came in today, and it's for the coaching position. The individual has decided to resign at the conclusion of this year.
Jim, I'll have to recuse myself on Christmas Allen's coach's
So should we pull that
pull
and
that
just
one.
vote on it separately? Okay. So we'll pull the
job share.
job share proposal as a separate item. We'll vote on that separately. Okay.
Anybody have any questions? Anything else to keep through? Okay, so for a motion to approve the consent agenda, minus the salaries.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the job share request.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the job share for Mr. Allen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Oh, I'm sorry. One recusal.
It's like automatic.
Sure.
Correspondence, there's one additional piece of correspondence in the supplemental. Anybody have any questions, comments on correspondence? Okay. That's good. 2014-15, oh, you're good. You're good.
I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good.
I'm sorry. Just wanted to make note of correspondence number 2, the Moody's rating increase is a tremendous testament to the administrative work done in our district, and so grateful for all the efforts. That really is proven.
Mr. Rossi, that's very much appreciated.
Oh, I'm like too far removed here. I'm very much, that was a great report. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it really sets us up, the district up for, a bond offering that could be in the future, and it really shows the work that the committee has made and the community has made to just making this place awesome. I love it.
Great commitment. Thank you.
Yeah. I was hoping, if I could, if the chair would, that someone would have picked up on item number 4 in my site review from RIDE, which says that you can't serve popcorn in school.
I saw that.
Okay. Just want to let you know. Just want to let you know.
No, it did say something about during lunch.
During lunch.
They don't serve it during lunch, they serve it during snack time.
Yeah, we're going to be working
Let's work on
on
that.
We're going to be working on that separately.
That snack time timing.
But that's where worlds collide,
Yeah.
Since I won't be able to do that.
The kids do enjoy it. Okay, the 14-15 budget projection.
So we're honing in on the end of the year. It's just unbelievable. We have one more projection which will come in June, and then, the end of June we close the books. We're looking like we're in really good shape. And right now we've limited purchasing to, just things that are absolutely necessary to get us through to the end of the year. So the numbers are firming up and we're in good shape, and I project we'll stay right on target.
15-16 budget.
I'd like to just say something about the 15-16 budget, because you'll notice that we keep voting on some additional staffing changes that, as they come in, retirements and job share requests, resignations, leaves of absence, and so forth. All of those attrition figures will play out in the budget that's already approved. So as these changes are happening, we are actually working on a new requisition. We already have the one that's approved, but we're putting everything into the next requisition. And just so that before the end of this fiscal year, we'll be able to put the new requisition on the table, and with all of the changes that have occurred, all the staffing changes, anything that's been solidified, I'll highlight all the changes. The bottom line will be the same, but I'll highlight the changes so that you can re-vote on a new budget that is more accurate based on all the staffing changes that have occurred. It is not something that we've done before, but after the budget gets approved, lots of things happen, and we just felt like this was a better strategy to kind of make sure that we're starting from the place where we know we need to start from at, by the time June ends. So we've been working on that, and we'll have that ready for you before the close of this fiscal year. And again, bottom line won't change, but all the changes with staffing and so forth will be incorporated.
Thank you.
I'm not sure we have to vote on that. I think we can. It was nice to review it, but I don't think we ever really vote on it.
No, we don't
You
even
do vote on the bottom line, but I mean, so whatever
We
you're.
already did,
Yeah.
and so did the public, so.
It's nice, I'd like to see where, and all that.
But we will have it for you.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with seeing it.
Yeah.
Another vote, just.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's acknowledge, validate, whatever you want to do. But I actually want it to be part of the record that we've shared this new, because otherwise it looks like, this line was approved at this amount, but now all of a sudden it's at this amount. Well, the reason is we've had a retirement, we've had to change the staff, movement at job fair, all kinds of things that occur. But this way we can put it all in one document, starting from a good place, and then we don't have to worry about all kinds of movements and journal entries and shifting the funds from one line to the other.
Thank you. Okay, monthly subcommittee reports. The policy subcommittee did meet today. We went over a few policies. We're ready. June. We're targeting June for some of
Nothing on charter review. Have we gotten the language adjusted yet?
With the charters the lawyer is on vacation, so he will get to that, but we actually looked at the policies that will be impacted by the changes of the charter. They're going to be on the agenda for the next round of the
Okay.
Okay, monthly status reports. Anyone have any comments, questions on those?
Question on superintendents. You indicated that the senior high principal and yourself visited Coventry about the career tech program. Can you tell me what the results of that visit were?
Yes. Basically, every year we get together. This is the funding region, so we're part of one region for funding purposes, and Coventry is the fiscal agent. We're actually part of a different region for attendance purposes. So our kids go to the Charahoe, they're assigned to the Charahoe region. We're supposed to transport to the Charahoe Technical School. But the funding region is Coventry. So this was really a fiscal meeting. It was to review last year's budget, budget versus expense, and then take a look at the new budget, the figures that have been released, and it was really about preparing for the Perkins grant that is under construction as we speak. So just what are the different items that each of the schools are looking for in terms of materials that support career exploration, career education, and taking a look at some of the staffing. Like for example, we fund the what's her name? She did the career fair.
Hudson.
Donna Hudson. It's her title. It's her title. School to Career Coordinator. Yes. So she's shared between a few different schools, North Kingstown, Coventry, and Exeter West Greenwich. So her salary comes out of the Perkins grant, and then there's a couple of staff salaries from Coventry that come out, and then there are some program materials that come out that support activities in each of the schools. So last year, for example, we got some technology to support career exploration during advisory at the high school. We're not asking for something as big this year, but just to continue with Don Hudson's position and some other small things. But really it was just prep work for the Perkins grant that is being written as we speak.
So do our students that attend Charahoe, do they benefit from that kind of Perkins coordination with another financial district?
Well, Charahoe gets Perkins funding. Charahoe is actually the fiscal agent for their region. So Charahoe does get funding, a lot of funding, and of course it goes into the programs that our kids are attending. So yes, but in terms of money that comes to our school to support activities in our school, that funding comes from the Coventry fiscal agent group. It's bizarre. They changed the transportation regions and therefore the attendance regions, but they never changed the fiscal regions. At some point they should be aligned, I would think, but they're not right now.
Thank you, appreciate that.
You all set? Okay, thank you. Okay, we have new business. The Rhode Island Association of School Committees annual dues. You have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Rhode Island Association of School Committee dues.
Second?
Second, sorry.
It's the Rhode Island Association of School Committee dues, annual dues. We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? I did. Val and Cheryl. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, then we have a whole bunch of things here. Bob, do you want us to do this all at once? Is that okay?
I would do them all at once.
Okay. So we have the service contract bids. Should I read them? Just the titles? All right. Well, let me read each one. I guess let's individually see if there are any problems with each one. I can hear. Okay, we have the inspection maintenance of the fire alarm system. I'm going to do each one and if there are any questions. That way I'm not going all over the place. Everybody's okay with that? Okay. So the bid, I guess the recommended bid would be to Electronic Alarm Systems Inc. for $1,200. Then we have the inspection maintenance of fire extinguishers. Any questions or concerns on that one? So the recommended bid would go to Allstate Fire Protection for $2,815. And then we have
Just Bob, between those two particular things, the fire alarm system and the fire extinguishers, there was no offer by Allstate for a comprehensive bid for both of those services?
No, they treat them as two distinctly entities, so they didn't even offer to do that.
Okay.
Our bidders do the same thing.
Yeah, we're going to consolidate.
We've tried for years to get consolidated.
The septic system pumping. So the recommended bid would go to Diffley and Daughters Septic Service, and I guess it's 15 cents per gallon.
Where's Diffley located?
They're in East Greenwich.
It's right on the line. It's East Greenwich, but their family is in this district.
They're in Waltham.
Yeah, 6 foot high.
It's a hometown family, but their office is out in the rubbish removal, we have to MTG disposal, the recommendation, and that one's for $49.50. Anything interrupt me if you have a...
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
Did we used to use Patriot?
Yes, we used Patriot,
Yeah.
and as our good fortune would have it, MTG they're a pretty consistent bidder,
Okay, great.
but Patriot came in a little higher than MTG, so they got it this time.
Thank you.
The storm drain cleaning, recommended bidder would be R. Bruce Briggs for $2,500. Inspection maintenance of elevators, Otis Elevator Company, recommended bid for $2,400. Boiler cleaning and repair to Falcon Hydraulics and Boiler Services, $41.50. And maintenance, monitoring, repair of building security systems, recommended bid of the electronic alarm systems Inc. for $12.72. So with those, I guess just.
I make a motion to approve these as
presented.
As presented.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Abstentions? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for all that. Okay, now we have the Beacon Company audit bid. Bob, you want to speak a little bit?
Sure. So, as you know, we, as a district, struggled a little bit with the incumbent, and we exercised the district's contractual right to go out to bid, which would have been the third year, which is typically what we do. But we felt that based on the track record, we needed to change a losing hand and try and get a winning hand in here. For the committee's edification, the bid that is put together that goes to the street, the RFP, the request for proposal, that bid is designed by the Office of the Auditor General. It is approved by the Office of the Auditor General, and then they provide a scoring rubric, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty much through their office that it's managed, but at a local level. There was a lower bidder than the one that we're recommending, and basically in doing the research and calling references, without naming towns, they said, I would not recommend going forward with the low bidder. And part of it will be, they're not numbered, but it's on the bid tabulation page, where the first one, where you could score 40 points for overall qualification experience of the firm, specific engagement personnel, to be assigned focusing on experience with governmental entities. The low bidder has never audited a school district. They've audited towns, but they have not audited a school district. The Uniform Chart of Accounts is a significant lift for any auditing firm that does not understand what school districts are doing. You know, when you look at our budget, you see that elementary instructional technology is broken down to the most granular level. Athletics is broken down to the most granular level. And what we found with the previous is that we were spending a disproportionate amount of time schooling them up on what UCOA was about. So in the scoring matrix, they were, you know, for lack of a better word, penalized pretty heavily. And the basic metric was the recommended has done 8 different school districts since 2010. So I used anybody who's done an equal amount, you got a point, and if you had it, you had a deduct. So each of the two bidders that received 1 point, they had each done a school. The low bidder hadn't done a school, and then you got I get assigned 2 points for location, and the low bidder is based out of Maine, and that was a real concern, particularly when I spoke to the references regarding availability to be on site to work through the audit process. So with that in mind, and without further ado, I would take questions. I would say to the chair, and the recommendation has to be, or the approval has to be contingent upon the letter of compliance by our legal counsel. So the legal counsel has to say that we followed all the bidding regulations, give that to the Auditor General. The Auditor General is aware of that. As the superintendent referenced, our legal counsel is returning from a well-deserved vacation and will be back in Rhode Island tomorrow, so we anticipate that letter. So it can be conditioned on conditional approval on receipt of legal opinion for bid compliance.
Robin, do you have this? Okay, good.
Bob, are you recommending approval of the bid for 1 year or 3 years?
We could do the 3-year, but the contract language is such that we have the option to non-renew. But I think for Bacon and Company, who I'm recommending, that they'd want to know that we don't intend on going out to bid next year, or that we reserve, that they should expect, if all goes well, that there'll be a renewal. And that was certainly the expectation of that we acted on in year 2 with the previous, but based on our track record, it would have been folly, I think, to engage in the 3rd year. Oh yeah, we have phenomenal experience with this organization.
So the motion, so we have the, when we make it, so we have the amount of $19.50. So what do you think is in the motion?
How does that compare to our current?
The cost?
It's about a $2,000 increase over the audit that was finished, which is, I think it's a very competitive bid. I mean, if you look at the scoring sheet on the bid tabulation, you could see it became a 2-horse race with the low bidder and then the recommended. The other 2 were significantly higher. One of the drivers that you don't see here were their hours. They were in the 400 range for hours for the audit. Bacon and Company was in the 275 range, which is more consistent with what we are used to seeing. And Baloo was at 217, which would be extremely low for the audit.
Did we allow the incumbent to bid on this or not?
The incumbent did not choose to bid on this.
I make a recommendation that we accept the Bacon and Company.
Can you read this as Bob wrote it, because it's got certain language? No, you read it as he has it.
Okay. I make a motion that the school committee award the auditing and agreed upon procedure services contract to Bacon and Company in the amount of $19,500 for the base price, and we make it a 3-year agreement with the opt-out clause for the 3rd year.
And then this is like conditioned approval on receipt of legal opinion for bid compliance.
Oh, what?
There's a guy read it. A second. It's a language process we should have in the motion. Robin has it. Okay.
Well, I don't really see it, so.
No, I wrote it down, Bob will see it. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the last one.
Then we have a policy amendment to policy 6242.
Policy 6242, the recommended changes are in red, and I just want to talk through the reason for these recommended changes, and if I can just take them one at a time. First of all, what you have is the policy. It's a 1-page document. On the reverse of that policy is, there are 2 sections of this spreadsheet. The first gives you everybody's title and then the low and high calculation based on the current policy. And then the low and high calculation based on the current policy but with the changes. So you can see in red those adjustments that have been made. So basically what the policy said prior to my recommended changes for the treasurer is that the range was between 85% and 90% of the salary, which is calculated by looking at step 12 teacher with a master's degree and 20 years longevity. That's the way the policy reads. So it would be somewhere between 85 and 90% of that total figure of 83,536. That's the salary per the teacher's contract. That is one of the least flexible ranges that exists for all of the administrators, and there wasn't a lot of wiggle room, and so I'm not recommending any change in salary yet, but I just wanted to make sure that there was some room for growth for that position. The person is fantastic at what she does, and we were kind of boxed in at the higher end of a very short range to start with, so that I consider to be a correction. The other change is the addition of the position of assistant director to the IT department. That is an administrative position that exists. When this policy was first crafted and passed, that position was not made part of the policy. It was not a position that we had at the time. So that, to me, is also a correction. And that individual would be between 55% and 65% of that figure that we use for calculation purposes. The other change is for the director of IT, and this is the one that I think is the most substantial, and that is based on the information that you can see on the very last page. On the very last page, what we've done is we've collected, most of this came from the school committee organization, from Judy Spramuli, who collects all of this and distributes to schools. I took information from all of the reporting districts on what their tech director receives, and the average tech director, and you can see the salaries are really all over the place. They range from as low as 66,000 change in Tiverton to as high as $120,000 in East Providence. But the average salary for a tech director is just over $91,000, or just shy of $92,000. Then I highlighted the districts that we typically use for comparison purposes: Charahoe, East Greenwich, our own district, Jamestown, Narragansett, North Kingstown, South Kingstown, Westerly. And in yellow over on the side, I calculated the average salary for a tech director from those comparison towns. That's typically what we look at. And the average salary is $88,500 change. We pay our tech director right now $71,000, and he is somebody that we want to retain. He's done remarkable work. We've gone through a massive transition in this district, and I think we need to allow this policy to give us some flexibility to make his salary more competitive, or else I'm afraid that we could lose him. So that is my recommendation and the data that I use to back up the changes. Now again, there is no recommendation for a change yet. That is something that I need to present separately. But if you approve this for the tech director, you'll see that on the spreadsheet, his range would go from 75%, from a 75 to 85% range of that salary that we use for calculation purposes to a 90 to 100%. That means the lowest salary, the low point of the 90 to 100% is at 75,000 change. So if you approve this, you know that he at least has to get a raise to bring him to that level when I make the recommendation. So I'm not making a recommendation for salaries at this point. This is just a policy change, but I just wanted to make you aware that approval of this pretty much guarantees that he will receive a raise to get him at least to that low level of the range. So that's where we are.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, is that range for the director of IT realistic given the statistics that you used? It looks a little low based upon the comparisons.
Yeah, it does, except if you then factor in size, because not all of these districts are the same size. So if you factor in size, it's good, and in our discussions that we've had with him, this would put him at a place where he would be comfortable.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's...
I'm happy to go higher.
Well, the only reason why I'm suggesting it is because not only do you have directors of IT in school districts, but you have directors of IT everywhere. And you're right, he's done an excellent job in the last few years. And you're right, we don't really want to lose him. So I'm looking at what you've done here, and I'm saying to myself, looks like we're not where we really should be using the calculations.
And again, I mean, I certainly would be open. I was trying to be reasonable because, you know, where he is and where he could be in relation to this matrix that I've created is pretty substantial. So if we can move him in the direction that we need to move him, and then we could always adjust the policy again later, or we can just make the range a little bit larger to give flexibility for the future.
I mean, if you've had discussions with him and he's comfortable, that's fine, that's important. I just know what we had before and don't want that either, so.
I think it might be more beneficial if we adjust the range now as opposed to coming back. It doesn't mean we have to give it to him. It's that way we don't have to come back and revisit.
So maybe if we, even if we moved it to 90% to 105%.
Which would be what is that?
I would need to map it out. I mean, I could do it by hand.
That'd be helpful.
Sure.
Be adding another 4,100 to the top, which is already.
3, 6 times. So the top end of the range would be 87,713 or 712.8.
And it puts it more in line with what he found statistically is the average.
Well, I would not argue with anything that Lee said. I would note that it looks like there's 13 districts that don't have any IT director at all. Do you know how that's
We have 13
accomplished?
districts that haven't reported.
Okay, okay.
So I actually, there were a couple of districts in the yellow that didn't report, so I called the superintendents.
Yep.
I didn't call all of the districts. I really wanted to make sure that I had whatever was out there already, but I definitely wanted all of the yellow districts because that's what I use for comparison, for, you know, for other purposes.
If we adopt a policy that changes that range tonight, how do we continue to pay him in violation of the policy until we get to the...
No, I would say that this becomes, the change is, it's a good point, I thought about it. The change would be for salary calculations for 15-16, but so there's no reason, I mean, there's no request to change people's salaries that have already been approved for the remainder of this year that's almost over. So you could make this effective July 1. Because there are not going to be any changes that occur between now and then. Any salary changes would be effective July 1, which is the new contract year for an administrator. So I think if you want to approve it, that's a great strategy, just effective July 1, 2015.
And how does the adopted budget accomplish those changes?
Well, we haven't agreed to any administrative changes except that this will kind of guarantee that he gets one. What I would do is work in some of the attrition savings from, you know, a couple of leaves of absence, the retirements that haven't been worked in. I would just reserve some of those savings for administrative raises that I'll work into the new draft of the budget that I talked about earlier.
Okay, so in the adopted budget, remind me, was it an across the board factor that we
No,
considered
it
for
was
administrators?
zero.
Zero.
There's no increases for anybody in the budget. yet.
Other than the CBAs.
For the teachers,
Right.
that's all in the budget.
Right.
But for administrators,
There's nothing.
there's nothing because that requires school committee vote. Now, we've talked about at some point putting in a sum that we can then distribute later on. We did not do that this year. But going forward, it is something that we will do. I think what will happen is, you know, I'll give you an example. We have a social studies teacher at the high school who retired, Louise. There is no movement that's going to occur. We're going to hire from outside. This is my prediction, although I'll know for sure on May 22nd. When we bring somebody in at step 2 or 3, you're going to be looking at roughly a $55,000 to $60,000 savings based on one change, one staffing change. So if we set aside $20,000 or $25,000 to distribute for administrative raises, if we need that much, then that's part of the attrition savings. That's how I'll budget it in the new draft that I'm working on. And then that will all be presented. But you have to vote on administrative raises. That will happen at some point in June, probably the second meeting in June. And at that point, everything will already be worked into the budget based on what we know at that time. And it will come in at balanced.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the policy 6242 as amended, effective July 1st, 2015.
So.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Thank you.
No, it's just easier. Okay, so unfinished business, reserve capital project update.
We're just, we're waiting on the safety bids to come in, so there's nothing new at this point.
That hit the paper. Bids will be available on the 14th for pickup for the safety. The tennis courts should begin on the 22nd of May.
Good.
And we're going to start convening regular meetings. There are, in speaking with Torado Architects, we are building in, what we're just thinking about, and it's something that the committee needs to think about a little more, alternates that could lower the cost as, you know, to say, okay, what could we do without, you know, in the safety project, some of the things. But all good stuff. Busy, but awesome.
Thank you. Okay, school committee resolution. I did my homework.
Me too.
Okay. So I read policy 114760 as it's written now, on the general law as it's written now, and then H5861 and S0743, the proposed legislation. And basically removes the language for anyone who's allowed to carry a concealed weapon with a permit or a license. Anyone the Attorney General gives a permit or license to carry a concealed weapon. And then it limits 1147.9, which are people who are approved to carry, but it limits those to, hold on, in the performance of his or her official duties. So I read everything. I'm totally comfortable with the resolution, so you guys can hear my recommendation. The only thing that I would recommend is ending it at the proposed legislation, taking out any and all legislative proposals that would disallow non-law enforcement to carry concealed firearm on the school grounds. And my reason for that is the exact reason why I asked you guys to table this, because I didn't know what was in these bills. Because sometimes legislators tend to they write bills and they put good stuff like this in to get them passed.
And I can tell you that from rereading them, I read them in February. They are different today than they were in February. They've been modified.
They've been modified.
And there's ancillary language in there that proves it, but it's no longer meaningful.
So basically, I had asked to have submitted to our school committee. In a nutshell, it just says that people with concealed carry permits will not be allowed to bring their guns in school. So for those people in the audience that don't know what we're talking about.
The only other thing that I would recommend is, and it's irrelevant, I would support the letter as Claudine has proposed, but the third paragraph, I don't believe those statistics are accurate. I am absolutely positive those statistics are not accurate. They're accurate in somebody's mind, but they're not accurate.
From what I read, like, some of it was talking about suicides in here as well.
So I would just strike the third paragraph, and I would support the letter, as well as their language proposal, change the money. It says it accomplishes what is intended.
So it means the only people that can carry are on-duty police officers. Is there one at the high school?
Yes.
Like full-time?
Well, he's in the district.
So one person is officer in the district.
The only thing that I questioned was that it limited, like, anyone that's off-duty cannot.
Correct. Unless they have a purpose, right.
So if they have a purpose, if there's an emergency, they wouldn't.
They'd be able
If
to
there
carry.
are, and the thing is, as it stands right now, there are people that have concealed weapon permits right now, teachers, administrators, cafeteria workers.
Right.
We don't know if they're bringing
School
their
committee members.
school committee members, right? And we don't know if they're indeed bringing their firearms with them. So this isn't to prevent anyone from having a firearm. That's not the intent at all. Just don't bring them into the school.
There's nothing in teachers' contract, there's no policy about that. That would,
One thing I will say, and you might wind up with pushback from law enforcement. Most police departments require their off-duty police officers to carry. So I think that you'll get some pushback from police on this, because if they're off-duty and they're carrying, they're required to by policy in most cases. So, and I don't have a problem with an off-duty police officer on my school grounds carrying a firearm. So.
well, I thought, from what I read, I thought it meant that if an off-duty police officer tried to come on school grounds, and that would be committing a felony.
No, I think it states it right here, except for duly authorized members of law enforcement. So that would cover off-duty. That would cover people, cops, police, law enforcement.
It doesn't say.
No, it doesn't, except for duly authorized. But if they're off-duty, they're still
But
authorized.
doesn't 1147.9 address?
Person exempt. That's the one where they limit it.
Yeah, and
It doesn't apply to sheriff, deputy sheriffs, superintendent, members of the state police, members around airport police department. There's a whole bunch of people it doesn't, in that
And
1147.9, that doesn't exempt.
and that's where
But
the
it does limit it to having a purpose.
official duty.
Unofficial duty.
Right.
Tiverton, Providence, Middletown, Barrington, and East Greenwich have already passed the resolution. So those are pretty significant districts also.
I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just saying that, as Claudia and I have suggested modifications, I think we should. I think that you're going to run into some difficulty with some of the language. But that's okay. I mean, it'll go before the legislature and then we'll decide.
Okay. So we have it ready for us tonight. Do you absolutely do it? The purpose of it is to support this legislation. If we need to strike this, we gotta prepare it again.
So,
I'm strong about striking that one.
I do, because I think it's bogus.
Not,
well,
I don't know.
it may or may not be
I don't know if
bogus,
it's not.
but it's simply citing a study.
Right.
We cite studies all the time, whether they're true or false. So it's not like we're saying making a mistake. It's just citing something.
Right.
I think we're only.
I have no problem leaving that in there. But I agree with Claudia, it's that last line that I'd like edited.
And I have that ready for tonight, if we check out that last line.
I would agree with that.
So we get this going.
So this one's,
Just the last line.
Yeah, 07.
Right after this, Senate bill. mean, I think the purpose is to get across that we don't want guns in schools, so.
Yeah, but I don't want my name associated with something that I know is probably false. So. That's just the way I feel. I don't think it's necessary either.
I don't think we have to have a consensus. I think that's my role.
Do we strike any?
I just don't think it's going to stop the crew from doing what they want to do.
That's right. And neither is a man trap.
So Val, if you and I can stop by at some point and sign it about that, what is the third whereas we're taking out?
Well, I mean,
did we say
the other
we
thing
are?
is, if you decide that you want to strike something, I can prepare a new copy, Robin can prepare a new copy, you take that back, and bring it to the legislative forum, which is scheduled for next Monday, and signatures, I can collect signatures at that point, and we can send it out.
I mean, we prove it as modified. It could be modified tomorrow and sent. So.
Well,
It requires signatures.
we're talking about two different modifications. One is to just take out the last sentence.
I have that done.
Right.
I
And the other one is, because Lee's not comfortable with the third paragraph, he wants that stricken. Personally, I don't really need to have that stricken. So we can vote on two different resolutions. One with just the first, with the last sentence struck, and then the second one with the third paragraph in the last sentence. We can do it two separate ways. Because I'm not sure we're all in agreement that the third paragraph has to be struck, is what I'm saying.
I would agree with striking the third paragraph because I don't think it pertains to concealed carry in schools. So I would recommend that that third paragraph be struck and then the language following the bill numbers in the last paragraph be struck. And in terms of any and all legislative proposals.
So, Chair, okay, let's go around. It's easier to go around. Cheryl, are you comfortable with it as is, or are you okay with the third?
I'm
Whereas
okay
being
with
struck?
the third one and the last sentence.
Okay. Diane?
I would like to see the last sentence,
Okay. Okay. Terry already stated, restated. Val, you'd like to keep it in?
But I'm not going to be only dissenter. I want this to pass. So I won't be the only person that dissents.
Okay. Mark, how do you feel about the third whereas?
You can take it out.
Okay.
And let me just, I know I just stated that it's only a study, but it would have been nice if they actually cited it as opposed to just saying a study. So it'd be nice when people write a resolution that they actually put some meat.
Yeah, a little more pieces to it.
So I'm good with taking that paragraph out.
I mean, okay. All right. And I'm okay. I mean, I like Terry's point that it doesn't really talk about, in schools, so I'm fine with that. Okay. So let's have a motion to approve the resolution with
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution with the removal of the third whereas and the deletion of the last sentence beyond 2015-S0743.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, okay, motion carries.
So I'll have that ready for Monday's forum, and then we can get the required signatures, and Robin can send it out the next day.
Val, thank you for that. That
Maybe
was
go into
excellent.
committee on the 13th. I think it's going to the House committee on the 13th.
Which is tomorrow.
Like I
That would be tomorrow.
Well, if you would like to drive to the administrative office at the conclusion of your meeting,
Well,
meet you there.
I can go first thing in the morning. I can be there at 7:30.
When you're in
Or 7
executive
o'clock.
session, I can go make the changes and bring it back.
That'd be awesome. That would be
But you
awesome.
have to still remember to do it.
And I will,
Because I'm not going to be here during the executive session.
Yeah,
and I will
that
notify
works.
people.
That would work.
I can do that.
You get on the bus.